Welcome to the John Freakin Muir Pod. Lace up those boots and sling on the pack for a romp through trails, short and long. With your host and Renaissance man, Doc. It's time to embrace the suck.
Welcome back to another week on the trail, dirtbags and hiker trash. I'm Doc, and this is the John Freakin Muir Pod. Let's start off with a reminder. If you are enjoying the podcast, take just a minute, help us out, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're not enjoying the pod, well, just go ahead and keep that to yourself. All right, let's get to this week's guest, who has both section hiked and through hiked the Appalachian Trail. Welcome to the John Freakin Muir Pod, Chris Hurlbut. How's it going, Chris?
Good, Doc. How are you, buddy?
Good. You know, I'm intrigued by tonight's episode because in my mind, section hikers and through hikers are generally two different people.
Generally they are. And it's generally, I didn't anticipate on through hiking this past year, actually, to be honest with you.
So I think it's going to be interesting to hear the perspective from you on both of those approaches and how you converted from, or how you switched between being a section hiker to a through hiker.
Yeah, a lot of similarities, but some differences too.
Okay. Hey, Chris, have you listened to the podcast before?
I do, about all the time, every episode.
Okay. Do you have any favorites out there?
I mean, anything with Ivy Chat.
Yeah, he's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I listen to everything. If you just listen to the story, you can relate to it somehow, some way, no matter what the episodes, whatever trail they've hiked, whatever they've done. There's it's relatable.
Yeah. I like to say that, we talk a lot about outdoor adventure in all its different forms, but really at its heart, I think this podcast is a human interest podcast. Everybody's got a story, and we're all humans. And so we can relate to that story on some level.
I definitely agree.
Okay. Hey, in your time on the AT, have you picked up a trail name?
Yeah, I go by Stretch.
Okay. And how'd you come by Stretch?
I'm tall and lanky and a lot of leg. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
I'm 6'4". Most of it's a stretch for people to keep up with me. Usually, that's where it came from.
So you got a long stride,
right?
Cover a lot of miles quickly.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just I have a hard time I have to be doing something all the time. So even when I'm hiking, it's I have a hard time pulling into camp early. I feel like I still have so much time left to do things. So I'm moving a lot.
Okay. And where are you calling in from tonight? Where are you?
I'm out in Boston.
In Boston, the city of Boston, or one of the suburbs?
The suburbs, up in Malden, north of the city.
Okay. And did you grow up in Boston?
No, I grew up out in Western Mass, actually in North Adams, which is North Adams, Williamstown, where the trail goes right through, actually.
Nice. All right. Now, having listened to a lot of episodes, you are familiar with a segment that we do towards the end of every episode called the Pro Tip Insight of the Week. That's where you'll get a chance to share some trail wisdom with our listeners to make their next outdoor experience even better.
I think I have one that nobody probably has ever come up with.
Oh, okay. All right. There is the tease right there. Now everybody's going to listen to the very end to find out this unique pro tip. I can't wait.
It ties into kind of what I do for work. So,
okay. All right. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. But first,
the must bring gear review.
Are you familiar with the must bring gear review?
Yes.
Okay. Of course you are. For those who are just tuning in, though, let me just share how this works. This is the Must Bring Gear Review, sponsored by the ultralight backpacking gear company 6 Moon Designs. And the way it works is this way. If you were to let a stranger pack your bag with pretty much generic gear for a multi-day hike, what is the one specific piece of gear you would insist on being packed? And if you've got a particular brand for that specific piece of gear, even better. So Stretch, what is your must bring piece of gear out there on the trail?
Mine is probably my quilt, I would say. My enlightened equipment quilt. It's versatile. I could, I'm a hammock camper normally, but I do go to the ground sometimes too. So it's like, it works both that way as well.
Now, when we have people on and they talk about using quilts, I would say like 95% of them mention enlightened equipment quilts. I mean, is that the best brand out there for quilts?
I mean, I don't know. Like I had one. I had like a homemade one that I made myself before that, and I couldn't. There was just it was just spotty, and I couldn't get the down to fill it like completely well in all areas. So I just bought that one like years ago, and it's lasted thousands of miles. So if I were to get another one, I don't know. There's plenty of good brands out there. Like, that's the great thing about like, it's a small market, but there's some very high quality products out there for anything. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of like the cottage industry brands.
Now, your current enlightened equipment quilt, what's the temperature rating on that?
I guess a 20 or 15.
Okay. And your homemade quilt, what was the temperature rating on that?
I would probably say like 40 or 50.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but
And how did you attempt to make that? I mean, what materials did you use? What was the size of the quilt, etc.?
It was one of like, are you familiar with like the packable down throws from like Costco?
Yes.
So it was kind of like it's like a prototype. I found the instructions online. It was like a prototype of something like that. You take one of the quilts, you rip out the seams, and then take another one, and like, so you're adding the down from a second one into that one, and you're like creating baffles with it and stuff. But I did a little sewing as well too, because I am tall, so like one of the throws definitely wasn't gonna like work. But it works well, but like I was like I said, I get down below 40, 50 degrees. Wasn't as comfortable as I really wanted to be.
Yeah.
It was my first project as well too, so like, I'm no seamstress.
Well, I admire people that have the patience and the ability to sew and put things together like that. It's totally outside of my wheelhouse. So props to you.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a will, there's a way.
Right. And I think, that's how some of these cottage gear industries or companies started. I mean, we talk about designs, you talk about Z-Packs. I mean, these are folks that saw a need and couldn't find it out there. And so they sat down and developed it themselves.
Right.
Yep. All right. Well, let's talk about gear a little bit. And to help us do that, we've got...
It's the hiking poll.
The hiking poll. And that's POLL, not POLE. This is a 7-question survey that's going to help me determine your level of sanity. Stretch, if I were to ask your friends or family to give you a ranking from 1 to 100, with 1 being completely insane and 100 being completely sane, what kind of score would they give me for you?
It would definitely be dependent on who you asked.
Okay.
I would probably say right down the middle somewhere, but like if I were to take a poll of the people I knew, I would say it would probably be down the middle somewhere.
Okay. Now, would friends give you a higher score or lower score than family, or is it like certain friends would give
depends
you
on where I know
than
you
other
from,
friends?
I guess. Yeah,
What's
I
that?
guess it depends on where I know you from.
So if I knew you from the trail, lower score or higher score?
Oh, definitely a higher score, probably.
Okay. And if I knew you from work?
I'm self-employed, so.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I worked in human services for a long time before I became self-employed. So, but yeah, I guess it, like, as I get older, it would probably more people. It would probably be higher, anyways.
Okay. Now, what did you do in human services?
I worked for the Greater Boston YMCA for a long time.
Did some hiring and firing there?
A little bit, yeah.
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 Okay. All right. So this is a 7-question survey. There's an automatic 20-point deduction for anybody who's done a long trail like the Appalachian Trail. You're expecting that because you've listened to the episodes. So the highest score you can possibly get is 80.
I'm glad that you don't like multiply that by as many trails as people have done.
Yeah, I think just the level of craziness just to do one, I think that just is that's enough. So
Yeah.
All right. So you think you're getting an 80 here?
No.
Okay. First question, real easy one. Trekking poles or no trekking poles out there?
Trekking poles.
Do you want to elaborate or just we'll just go with the
they're just super convenient, and especially used correctly, they're super helpful on your body. Like the downhills, if you're using your poles, they can lessen the impact on joints and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I have my tent is also a trekking pole tent, so I got to carry it for that. Yeah, I don't know. Like I did have some trekking pole problems at the end of my AT, hike this summer as well too. And like every time, like if I was down to one pole or something, it's just like, I always felt more comfortable with the second.
Right. You're not a one pole kind of guy. You need 2 poles out there. Your trekking pole tent was a 1 pole tent or 2 pole tent?
2 pole tent. Yeah.
Oh, 2 pole tent. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I have like the poles themselves as well too, but it's not always necessary to double carry trekking poles and the tent poles. So
right. Now, what was your pack weight, your base weight with the this summer's hike?
I have no idea. Probably around 18, I would say.
Okay.
I mean, I try to stay light, but like I also pack for comfort as well too.
Okay, we're covering multiple items here. This is great. We've got one question down, and I've got some insight into some of your other answers that I anticipate coming up here. So, question number 2: boots or trail runners?
Oh, trail runners.
Do you have a specific brand? Hoka's.
I wear Hoka's. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a great shoe, aren't they?
They are. Yeah.
They are.
Really comfortable. Yeah, I understand. Like I've tried ultras. Like I can wear ultras for if I'm doing like shorter hikes. Anything over a couple 100 miles, I start getting like high ankle sprains from them. So like I quickly learned that I couldn't wear them all the time. Boots are just, to me, that's just like a winter hiking thing. Some of the other brands, like I just haven't tried. Once you find something that works, you just stick with it. Your feet are your most important thing out there.
Do you think the ultras gave you problems because of the zero lift?
Yeah, the zero drop. Yeah, it's that's I don't think my feet. If I were to, like, I remember twice now it's happened to me, and I'm sure you could probably power your way through it and it'll go away like anything usually on trail, but why put yourself through that if you don't have to?
Okay. Question number 3. Your preferred shelter system out there. I think we already know this, but let's ask it anyway. Tent, tarp, hammock, bivvy, or cowboy camping?
Oh, I'm a hammock person normally
surprised me there because we talked about the tent.
Yeah, so I'm normally a hammock person. That's my normal go-to on solo adventures, and location dependent as well too. Usually, but at the end of my AT hike, I got hurt back down in Virginia. I messed my knee up pretty well, and I was trying to shed as much weight as I possibly can, and my tent system is just a lot lighter than my hammock setup, my tarps, my both underquilts, my underquilt and my top quilt, so like, my tent system is lighter than my hammock system. but my hammock is much more comfortable and I sleep much better.
I take afternoon naps very well in a hammock, but for some
That's
reason,
us.
I can't get through a full night of sleep on a hammock.
No,
No, I don't know what it is.
yeah, it's my best night's sleeping are in my hammock.
Okay. All right. Hey, speaking of sleeping, your preferred sleeping system, sleeping bag or quilt? I think we already heard quilt on that.
Yeah, quilt. Yeah,
Okay. Is that because it's less constrictive,
yeah,
or
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Plus,
tall guy?
I sleep.
Do you move around a
I
lot when you sleep?
No, I don't move around at all actually, but it's more of I sleep hot, so like being able to like kick it off, cook the quilt off me, yeah. So yeah, it's more of just like generating airflow and everything.
Got it. Got it. All right. Question 5. When it comes to food out there, are you a stove guy, cold soak, or stoveless?
Stove. Yeah, for multiple reasons. Coffee. I gotta have my coffee. Although in like during the middle of the summer, I don't. I drink like them Starbucks like iced coffee packets instead of regular coffee. Partly because I'm lazy as well too while I'm out there sometimes. But yeah, then like, there's nothing like to me. There's nothing like a hot meal. Cold soaking to me is also just gross. I don't know how people do that, but yeah.
Yeah, with coffee every morning, you kind of start out your day like Ivy Tat does on his YouTube videos.
Yeah, and I mean, yes, yeah, very, very much so. Let's just say my attitude in the morning is very similar.
Nice, nice. All right, question number 6. I think we're on. Is life better above or below the tree line?
Oh, man, for me, it's got to be below because in order to sleep well, I got to have trees around. Um, but man, there's nothing like above tree line either.
Yeah, I mean, I think you spend a lot of your time in the tree line or below the tree line on the AT,
Yeah,
right? That's kind of the nature of that trail.
yes, very much so. Yeah.
And now people who live on the East Coast who are familiar with the AT, who grew up with the AT kind of in their culture, in their background, they swear by the AT. That is the trail. That's the best trail. Any inclination or any desire to do like the CDT or the PCT?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm thinking probably 2024. I'm going to do the PCT. That will be my next long distance hike. Next year I'll probably do something like the Superior Trail or make something shorter, maybe the Colorado Trail. I also want to do the Arizona Trail, but that's like an 800 miler. So it's also a possibility.
Right. Kind of get that desert experience
Yeah,
with the AZT
that's
prior to
definitely
the PCT.
yeah, that's definitely something I want to do. It looks you know, uh I follow a lot of people on YouTube, watch a lot of YouTube videos just to for things I haven't hiked myself yet. And to do like a couple of people that I've seen do Arizona, it's like so different but so beautiful in its own way.
Right. Like I said, there are people that swear by the AT, but there are also people who swear by the desert, which is really, it's an odd perspective for me. But they rave about the beauty and the simplicity and just the starkness of the desert.
Yeah, I mean, I'm I know the feeling, like to me, like the long trail is kind of like my like my AT feeling that you're talking about. I've hiked the long trail a few times
Up in Vermont.
and yeah, so like that trail has it all to me, and that's like my baby, but like somebody that like that a long trail, like there's so much water everywhere and everything, like to the person that hikes the Arizona Trail, that like you're struggling to find water much infrequently than on the long trail. It's got to be a totally different like mindset. Like it's water to me on trail is just like it's something I want to know is always there.
Right. So to have that scarcity of water, that adds a whole nother layer of concern to a long hike.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right. Question number 7. What's more important, pack weight or luxury items?
It's a tough one for me because pack weight, I have to keep my pack weight at a certain, I don't know exactly what weight that is, but like if I'm carrying too much, like I start getting a shoulder problem. And but I also like I like to carry an umbrella for when on certain times that it rains and stuff, like so I do get both sides of that.
So other than the umbrella, what else do you bring in terms of a luxury item? Do you bring a chair?
No, I've always thought about that. And one of my sections hikes like 2 or 3 years ago, this guy I hiked with like a couple 100 miles had one of the chairs, and I still have a hint of jealousy from that. But what else? I can't really think of anything like.
Jupiter packs a yo-yo.
Yeah, I don't. Man, I really can't think of anything that's like out of the ordinary.
Okay.
I guess it's just one of those things like you have what you have and you just think that you need it. And like I've never I've done a lot of like thousands of miles hiking, and my kit has always kind of just stayed the same.
Yeah. Do you bring a closed cell, like a foam sleeping pad, or do you have an inflatable?
So this at the end of this my through hike, I was carrying both of them actually. Yeah, I was just having a lot of trouble sleeping on the ground, and that's like my blow up pad. I had this. It ended up like not being holding air as much. Like it was a slow leak through the night, but it was nice to have the closed cell phone pad underneath me as well too. So it's like screw it, I don't have to blow it up. I have this other pad underneath, so it's kind of beneficial in that sense.
Improvise as needed. Yeah.
But and it came in handy more times than not. Like it's sitting down and eating lunch and stuff. Like throw the whole pad down. Like
All right. I've got your answers. I got to do some math here, some complicated math. I got to carry the 4. I'm going to divide by √3. Got to multiply by pi. And then we're going to factor in the barometric pressure from the top of McAfee Knob out there on the AT. And I've got a solid 53.
Probably about right.
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
We had an epic McAfee Knob day and night. We cowboy camped up there.
Really?
Yeah, we got to. Yeah, it was a great sunset and sunrise in the morning. It was just absolutely amazing. Like I'll definitely send you pictures of that.
Well, if you like the view from McAfee Knob, just wait till you get to some of the spots on the PCT. You see forever.
Yeah, as long as there's not smoke in the air.
That's true. Yeah, generally that's been kind of the trend at the
last couple of years.
Yeah, the last couple of years at the end of the PCT, as you're getting up into Washington. It's usually fire season, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Stretch, we talked about it a little bit, but why don't we back up a little bit and tell us about your background, where you grew up, what kinds of sports and hobbies you grew up with, and how did you get involved in the thru hiking cult? At what point in your life did you decide it'd be great to just walk for hundreds and thousands of miles and sleep in the dirt?
So I grew up in like Western Massachusetts, like in the North Adams, Williamstown area, which is the trail goes right through North Adams. That actually goes right down the street. The trail goes right down the street my parents' house is on. So and we moved into that house like when I was 12 or so, somewhere around that age. And obviously, the trail was already there. So at that age, I was always seeing people hiking, hikers going up and down the trail. I never really like it piqued my interest minorly. I would say like I never like I before lived up in the woods, and so like I was always like a toddler to like adolescent age. Like I was always playing in the woods, and I played a lot of sports growing up. I played basketball, I played golf, played baseball, anything with the ball. I basically played. And yeah, so like I think it was just like that nature of being athletic, like piqued my interest into it, and kind of always kept it there for a few years because I never really got into like hiking like until like after high school. And me and a friend that summer after we graduated senior year in high school, a friend and I did a trip, and that was kind of the downfall from there, I guess.
All right. Hey, right now we're talking, and the World Series is going on, and I know you said you played baseball. You bear a passing resemblance to outfielder on the Phillies, Marsh. I don't know if you've seen him at all. He's a tall guy as well. He's got that full beard that he's probably been growing all season long.
Yeah, I've had facial hair since I was like 18, so like I don't know what it's like not to have facial hair.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't follow baseball anymore as much as I used to. Yeah, I mean, I still like will like read the highlights of like the World Series and everything like that, but like I could care less about watching the game.
Yeah. Were you an outfielder when you played?
No, I pitched and played first base.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Got lots of tall pitchers and tall first basemen out there.
I was actually golf was my sport. I was pretty good golfer in the state of Massachusetts in high school. Mm-hmm. I kind of screwed that up down the road, I guess, but like I didn't. I had to. My first attempt at college didn't go so swimmingly.
It happens.
Yeah,
it happens. Any holes in one to your fame there, claim to fame?
No, but I do have a double eagle, which they say is a little even more rare than a hole in one.
Yeah, double eagle for those people listening. That's a 2 on a par 5.
Correct.
Or a 1 on a par 4, which would be
right.
a hole in one. But you said
right. Yeah.
Yeah. My claim to fame. I do have a hole in one. It was on a like 120-yard par 3. On a course here in Southern California. The green, the front edge of the green was higher than the back edge, so I had no idea where the ball went. I'm looking all over. I walked up. I'm looking all over for the green. I'm like, I know this was a good shot. Where is my ball? And I looked in the hole, and there it was. So
nice. Yeah, but 120 is still decent hole. It's not like it's a chip and putt.
Yeah, thank you, Stretch. Thanks for stoking my ego there.
Dude, like it's funny, like everybody else even my mother, my mother had gotten a hole in one like 2 years after she had started playing. I'm like, are you kidding me?
You're not bitter about that though.
Well,
hey, you talked about growing up in the woods as a toddler, as a youth. Any mishaps? We talked to Swamper a few weeks ago, R.I.P. Swamper. And he told us about his experience growing up in the swamps, which was really interesting to me, where he ended up with a water moccasin hanging off of his hand as it was biting him.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but any kind of big adventures or accidents that you experienced as a youth growing up in the woods?
No, nothing. No, I can't really think of anything like that. Mm-hmm. I remember like one time, like I can't say I was chased by a moose, but like there was one that was walking pretty quickly towards where I was, and like I had to kind of dart it inside. I don't know if I like to say I was being chased by a moose, but I don't know if that was really what was going on. But yeah, I don't know. Like I was just I was more of like the building forts and cutting stuff down, and my parents had owned like 25 acres of land or something like that, so like I could just go hide in the woods all day if I wanted.
What a great childhood. I mean, amazing to live on 25 acres in the woods.
Yeah, my dad actually cleared a whole plot of land, like built a baseball field for me and everything. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say he built a golf course for you.
No.
Now, any brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have one younger sister.
And is she also a thru hiker?
No. She has young children now, so.
So she used to be a thru hiker, but now she has young children. She can't.
No,
she never was.
No, I'm like the outcast of the family there. I think like my father says, "Oh, how great of an idea it sounds," but then like he tells me a story about how he like hiked down a ski lift with his friends and like was hurting after doing that. So I said, "Well, your chances of hiking the trail are not very good." But
do you embrace the black sheep label?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I said at the beginning in all of my intros this last couple of seasons, I've introduced the podcast, welcoming the guests as hiker trash and dirtbags. Maybe someone who is not hiker trash might find that offensive. Why are you calling folks names? But how do you feel about the hiker trash or dirtbag label?
I mean, if the shoe fits, sometimes, I mean, like. I also like I'm the type of I try to stay as clean as possible. I'm not the type of person that's going to go 2 weeks without showering though, so I will be, washing my ass once every like 3 or 4 days probably. So
it's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah. So like but we all, while you're out there on trail, like shit happens,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it would probably your standards of how you approach a situation kind of lower sometimes while you're on trail compared to if in your normal life, I guess. So that would I could probably qualify as being hiker trash or a dirtbag, yes.
Yeah. Do you remember you mentioned Ibitat? You remember his definition of hiker trash? What you had to do to qualify to be hiker trash?
No, I don't.
You had to sleep in a restroom overnight.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that a few times. Yeah.
I commented on his hat. He was wearing a hiker trash hat. I said, "Oh man, that's awesome. I want a hat like that." He goes, "Not everybody can have this hat. You have to earn this hat." And that's
I think
he shared. That's where he shared about the restroom.
Yeah, he's still wearing that darn hat too. I think he just wore it on his Scotland trip.
What epic pictures from that Scotland trip!
I know. I'm still. Yeah. He's releasing the videos nightly right now. It's that's it has now piqued my interest at looking at foreign trails, let's just say.
Yeah, agreed. All right. And so you mentioned before that you were in human services, but now you're self-employed.
Right.
And I think you didn't share exactly what it is that you do. So how do you pay the bills? How do you finance these trips?
So I always had like side hustles throughout my time, like working at the working for the Y and stuff. I like to thrift and like go like thrift store shopping and like Goodwills and stuff. And it was always like a hobby before, like something I would do on the weekends. And living in Boston, you kind of there's a lot of thrift stores and a lot of colleges, a lot of like high end like universities like Harvard, Boston University, and so you get a lot of more affluential families and people and stuff. So you get a lot of pretty darn good stuff in our thrift stores here. And I was just reselling that online for like extra money back like when I was still working full time, and I just turned that into my full time gig.
Really? So you go to the thrift stores and find some pretty good stuff for a reasonable price, and then you
Yeah, mainly clothing and shoes.
All right. And what was the best turnaround on an item that you had?
Oh, man. There's been a few that I've had some really good turnarounds. I would, one that always sticks out to me is like I got this. It was a Burberry, the brand Burberry, a sweater that's like really kind of rare and unique looking. And I paid like $5 for it, and it sold within 24 hours for $800.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Like I've had a couple other decent ones. I can't remember if you know, there's been a few in that ballpark.
Mm-hmm. You didn't want
And
to
I've
wear
been
that.
doing it, yeah, but just about for 2 years full time now.
Okay. And it's paying the bills, huh?
I doubled my salary my first year doing it.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
yeah.
Now, you didn't want to wear
It's
the,
all a matter. It's just another one of the you get out of it what you put into it. You know, like
right.
I work a lot, but I'm also working on my time for myself. I do when I want. I go, so I don't have to work tomorrow if I don't want to. I could go, I could go up to the Whites and do a day hike tomorrow if I wanted to, and not have anybody to tell.
Nice. Nice to have that flexibility.
It is, yeah. There are some downfalls to it as well,
Sure.
but yeah.
Yeah. The retirement plan isn't that good.
No, retirement, health insurance,
Yeah.
like, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'll figure that out when I need it.
Now, you didn't want to keep that Burberry sweater for the trail?
No, that was a woman's anyway. So,
Yeah. Well, whatever.
I'm all about the dollar, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find enough nice like stuff for myself, and I have problems parting with that sometimes. But then I look at it, I'm like, why do I need 6 puffy coats? Like.
I feel like you just looked in my closet and made a judgment on me. So yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's part of like being like part of the problem is like being with like into the outdoor world. Like you can find there's a lot of really good, well-made products from a lot of different brands, and if sometimes if I come across something, it's like I got to give it a try at least.
Right. Okay, hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about your 2 different ways of hiking the AT. I'm fascinated to hear about your section hike and then also the through hike. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. And welcome back. We're talking to Chris Hurlbut, also known as Stretch, and we've heard a little bit about his growing up and his self-employment with thrift shop resale business. And I can't wait to hear about your section hike and your through hike of the AT. So tell me, how did you get the idea to section hike the AT, and how long did it take you to section hike the 250 miles?
So that I started doing that like when I was still being employed, like on vacation, taking like 2 weeks vacation at a time, or sometimes I could get it 3 weeks, and that's all I could do. So that's I would take that. I normally. It's pretty easy and convenient if you live in the Northeast to get to the trail by transportation, like bus or train. Like it's pretty. No matter where you live up here, you can find a way to get to the trail and not have to worry about leaving a car somewhere and something. And then also just utilizing the trail community, like no matter the time of the year, no matter the time of year. If you needed a shuttle from somewhere to get to somewhere on trail, like there's trail angels, no matter the time of year, are going to help you out. So that was just I would just find a way, like take 2 weeks. I would figure out what section I was going to do, or like what I can do. Like I'm not the average person that can like get up off the couch and do a 20-mile day. Like I wouldn't recommend that to most people that don't have any kind of a hiking background, but that's just how I am. So like I knew like what kind of mileage I could always do during a section hike when I was working, working for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID happened, and I did two trips of it separately. Of like, one was like an 800-mile trip, and then another one was like a 600-mile trip. So I did like 1,400 miles during that summer of COVID, so I had some big mileage of the trail done then, and then in 2021 I finished up basically everything that I had missing, except for Waynesboro, Virginia South. Then this year I was going down to Springer to complete that section, from Springer, Amicola, up to Waynesboro, and completing the trail as a section hike. But I just kept going.
Just kept going all the way to Katahdin.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, for our listeners out there who may be unfamiliar with the terms section hiking and through hiking, section hiking is like what it sounds like. You're hiking a section at a time. For example, I have a friend who is currently section hiking the PCT. He's been doing it for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. He's currently in Washington on his.
Yeah.
He's been doing it sequentially. Started out at Campo, Mexico, and has been going northbound ever since. Whenever he has a chance, he's a teacher, so he does it during his summers, and he's currently in Washington trying to finish it up, or this next summer.
Yeah.
And
I mean, for me to have to like section hike the PCT or something like that would just be a logistical nightmare. Like it would cost me a small fortune to do something like that. So, obviously the AT was always going to be the trail that was going to be my first, like, whether I through hiked or section hiked it, the first trail I completed in some sort of way that was of significant mileage. I've already done the long trail at that point, like a few times. But that's, less than 300 miles. So.
Yeah, there's not too many trail angels in the Northeast that would drive you to the PCT trailhead.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Now, did you section hike the AT alone, or did you have a partner in crime?
No, I always set out alone.
And do you prefer hiking alone, or do you pick up friends along the way?
I've always I normally like an alone hiker throughout the day. That changed a little bit during my through hike. But like I would always, no matter where it's like the trail community, like no matter where you are, like for me, like I remember last summer, not last summer, like the one summer I was out doing section hiking, I started at Harper's Ferry, and I was going up to Bear Mountain in New York, and like within the first, I don't know if it was the first night or the second night, I had, where I was camping, two guys that had been hiking together that were through hiking, and I ended up hiking with them for like 200 miles, so like there's always somebody there, depending on the season, I guess, obviously, but like during the main 3 seasons, you're always going to find somebody probably that you're going to keep pace with at some point of the day, And the AT is a fairly busy trail, I would say, in my opinion.
Yeah, the AT is close to a lot of different population centers. You're never too far away from town, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, how long did it take you to section hike the AT? You had an 800-mile stretch, you had a 600-mile stretch. Did this take
like 3 years?
3 years.
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then did you always hike during the summer, or did you kind of change it up in terms of the seasons?
Summer and fall, spring, summer, fall. I don't like on the AT, hiking during the fall, like I always found that difficult, to be honest with you, because for multiple reasons, like there's the tree covered, the below tree line. Well, they're all on the ground at that point, so like for multiple reasons, it slows you down. Like you kind of have to be more careful. Like the AT has a lot of rocks, like any trail does. So like it's hard to just push through because there's leaves all over the ground, and one wrong step and you're done. Then like for certain reasons, if you're in certain areas, I don't necessarily like hiking in the fall for like hunting purposes and stuff. Like there are some areas on trail where they're not technically supposed to be hunting, but they can use the trail as a means of transportation and for them to get to areas. And like I remember I would always tell somebody if you're ever hiking in the fall, like make sure you're wearing some kind of blaze orange or blaze like bright colors or something. Like I remember one time hiking and I didn't have anything. It was my first like eye-opening experience where like I was like, I probably should be having some kind of blaze like color on me, because like within a 2-mile stretch I was hiking, like I saw like three different groups of hunters. I think that was down in like West Virginia or Maryland or somewhere in that area. So like I don't know, like as great and as beautiful as it can be, like I also like felt like I wasn't prepared enough because it was something I wasn't thinking about, and it's kind of an uneasy feeling as well.
Sure. People walking around with guns out there,
which I don't have a problem with normally,
right.
But like I like it's hard to not like keep in the back of your mind like accidental things. Like you don't know. I'm not the one with the gun with the pulling the trigger, so I'm not making the decision if somebody's just shooting at something moving or not.
Right. Now, in terms of going down to finish your section hike and then just you kept on going, I mean, did you have at this point a level of did the section hiking build up this level of confidence of I can do this whole thing right now?
Oh yeah, I always knew I could anyway, so it wasn't a matter of not thinking I couldn't. It was just a matter of the time mainly, like because I am self-employed, taking like, I mean, it took us 4 months and like 10 days. 4 months and 10 days, I think it was, to do it. And at the time, like I was like, my mindset was always like, it's difficult for me to leave what I do for 4 months. Cause yes, I was still having income and working and stuff. I had somebody doing all my shipping for me and everything. And, but if you're not adding new product all the time, like your sales numbers are just going to dwindle. So it's like there's a double-edged sword there, but yeah, so like, I mean, to be honest with you, there was more like, yes, I wanted to through hike the trail, and one of the reasons why I ended up through hiking was because of people around me. As well,
people on the trail.
But so I the very first day, day one at Emmacola, I literally was taking a selfie at the arches, and like walked 100 feet up trail and met a group of 3 women and a guy. The 3 women all knew each other, and I don't remember about the other guy, how he was involved or not. But basically, one of them women and 2 of the 3 women, we summited together. And one of them, we basically hiked together. Her and I hiked together every single day. And then with another guy that we met that night or the next day, it would end up being the 4 of us that we met within the first 2 days. We basically hiked together the entire thing and summited together.
Wow. That is really cool. Now, did you still keep in touch with them? I imagine you would.
Oh yeah. Yeah. One of them daily. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Daily. Is this the woman?
3 of them were women.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one guy, he was from London.
Okay. Any spark there? Any love on the trail?
I mean, it depends on who you ask, I guess. I don't know. We don't have to get into that.
Okay. We won't get into that. But I do know that you want to talk a little bit about finding love organically on the trail.
Yeah, it's more about like, like what the trail can do for you, for yourself,
Hmm.
like there's a lot of small like small moments on trail um where you can like start appreciating things that you may not have, um the simplicity of things and everything, and like, and being able to like tie that into yourself, like, and just being able to like love yourself with like how like simple you can be, like the very little that you need to get by in life, you know um there, there's so many like great moments, and you know just, you sit back and listen, and like the conversations around you and everything, and um there's so many different uh I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but there's so many different ways that the trail can like help uh make you love yourself, love the people around you, and for some people, for somebody like myself, who like I have nobody around me, um like that community is definitely something that when I have on trail, like I'm lacking in my regular life.
Hmm. Yeah, I was going to ask that question. That a lot of people out on the trail who are hiking thousands of miles at a time, they're many of them are working on themselves. They're wrestling with something, and they're finding a way to deal with it. Um, do you find that you kind of fit into that category, that you're working on something out there, or do you achieve something out there when you're on the trail? Excuse me, that you find hard to achieve back in regular life?
Yeah, I think that would be more so the case. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't, I'm gonna be 40 at the end of this month, after actually, or November. Um, and like it's being a 40-year-old single guy is just very like I'm very picky. I'm very picky about like I kind of know, like I've been married and divorced, and like I kind of know like what would work for me, and like how I just don't know. Like I'm not like the social media like app, like trying to find somebody in a relationship through a dating app, like where all the focus is just on looks and everything. You like you swipe on a person because they look good. I mean, how else do
Mm-hmm.
you know anything about the person? So like I have no interest in anything like that. So it's like being a middle-aged guy, like I don't want to be single the rest of my life. So it's like I don't want to say like I'm necessarily going out looking for anything on trail, but like it's you value like all the like the relationships that you do have out there much more, like it's because even still, like I once you get to that point in life where like all your friends have married and have kids and everything like that, so it's like you don't really you know you, you're not hanging out with people all the time, anything or anything like that anymore, so like that trail life is definitely always something that's much more valued.
Yeah, I think in everyday life in the city or suburbs or wherever you are, I think even when you run into people, you interact with people, it's on a very surface level. You,
Right.
you may see a neighbor down at the mailboxes, once a day, and never have anything more than a surface level conversation with that person. You don't really get to know that person. You don't build a connection with that person. Yet on the trail, you are sharing you whatever. I don't know how it happens, but you're sharing secrets and stories with people that you haven't told
Yeah,
anybody else, that you just met them 5-10 minutes ago, and you're really opening up and you're making that connection. And I think that's what you're talking about, this
absolutely.
ability to
Yeah,
connect with
absolutely.
people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like that is so true. Like the connecting with people, but like even like when you start getting around people that you're hiking with every single day, like, and you start, those connections go even deeper. And, yeah, it's nice to, like, I'm a pretty quiet and reserved person as it is anyway. So like, you know, being around people for a period of stretch of time, and then they they just get you, and they're similar to you in a lot of ways. Like it's like the trail will provide, like people will be put around you that, probably just needed to be there for you, even though they didn't know it or you didn't know it at the time.
Mm-hmm. Now in the city, I mean, we have all these artificial constructs around us that we have to operate within. Is it accurate to say that we're probably our truest self out on the trail? More is revealed from us about us when we're on the trail.
I would say, yeah, absolutely, yeah,
yeah.
You're I mean, you're down to like I want to say like bare bones, or like however you want to say that. Like it's just the bare necessities, and you and like everyone there is likewise with an end goal, usually.
Mm-hmm.
So that right there, like you're automatically finding something in common with somebody, like or everybody basically, so like it that right there is just an instant like way to be able to you're a connection that you're having with somebody, like in that sense, so you're gonna go through a lot of the same shit.
Yeah. Now you spend a lot of time out there. You ran into a lot of people. You have a favorite trail name out there you run into?
My buddy Trippy Hippie, he I met him in 2020, 2020 or 2021. I don't remember which year it was, but yeah, my buddy, I almost ran into him again last summer, but we just missed each other.
Trippy Hippie, love it.
Yeah. Have you had Walmart on?
I have not had Walmart on.
No. He'd be
a good interview.
Yeah, he would be a good interview for some people. Yeah. I've met him a couple of times now, and he's just kind of inspirational. Like his name's Walmart because he literally just went to Walmart and bought his shit and got on a trail. So like it just kind of shows like you don't need like thousands of dollars of high end gear and everything. If it's what's up here.
That's right. Don't let the ultra light, ultra expensive gear be the piece that's holding you back from doing what you've always wanted to do. Go to a Walmart, get some stuff, and get out there. Yeah,
it was funny too because he ended up, I think, finding, I don't know, like one of the employees like Walmart vest or something like that, and he ended up like wearing that throughout the trail too.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
perfect.
Now, is there some fear mongering that goes on out there? Out on the trail?
Like that shit drives me bonkers. Like you'll hear it like so early, and it's like just always stupid, unnecessary shit. Like people like it's always the most common one is like it's always about the whites. People are talking about the White Mountains when you're not even out of Georgia yet. Like it's always I don't know why people just feel like they need to obsess on something that they haven't gotten to or like build up this like unnecessary. Maybe it's out of excitement or whatever, what feeling it's out of, but like there's always this. The whites is always the number one thing. Like, what are you gonna do when you get to the whites? The climbing and everything. But like people don't understand is like by the time you get to the Whites, you've hiked 15 to 1600 miles. Like it's no different than, you're climbing up a little bit. Then people, there's just so many people out there. I would just say, like, be in the moment and not thinking about anything other than that. Like, don't listen to people. Now that I'm on here, like, I know I had like a couple other ones as well too, like, and I didn't write it down, but like, just if people all have actually gear, that's another thing. Like, people will say, "Oh, that's not going to work for you," or people like to value their own opinion way too much and push it on others, whether it be gear or something ahead. Like, for one, they don't know you. They don't know anything about you. Like, don't let somebody's opinion or what they think about, like, what you're doing or something, if don't ever let anything like that like affect you. Like, it's nonsensical and silly.
Yeah, fear mongering. They do that on the PCT as well. I think the first 700 miles, all anybody ever talks about is the Sierras.
Yeah,
same kind of thing. And in my experience, I have found in my life that worrying about something is often way worse than the something.
Yeah,
you put a whole bunch of mental energy into something that really you didn't need.
Yeah, and then like with the AT after the Whites, and what are you gonna do about the Whites? And then it's Maine, like then it's the 100-mile wilderness, and it's always the next thing that people are like trying to I don't want to say talk up or talk down or what or whatever, but there's nothing that you are going to do out there is going to be to the point that you should be obsessing over it.
Right. And I think you hit it right on the head earlier. Live in the moment. I mean, instead of worrying about what's 1,600 miles in front of you, look around at what you're walking through right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's, and so many times, like, especially myself included, like because I try to do, 20 to 25s, basically every day. And I have to remind myself that so much because, I would doing days where I'm doing 12 by 12. I mean, I had days where I did like 16 or 18 miles by noon, and like, I'm like, man, I don't even remember anything that I just did. So like it's like a double edged. Like if I were to go back and like do it over again, like I would try to do it in 6 months and not 4 months. Like it's not it's there's no race. I mean, unless you have like a race against time, but for other reasons or something. But like, there's definitely, I could have enjoyed many more times, moments, and places by not trying to do my physical fitness aspect of it.
Right. Now, when you got to Katahdin, that last day, as you're summiting, is there particular emotions or thoughts running through your mind, having accomplished this incredible hike in just 4 months and 10 days?
Like I'd already been there before. Like and obviously when I did it before, like I'm not a very emotional person. Let's just put it that way to begin with.
Okay.
But I don't remember, it was September 28th or 29th we summited, and I think it was the only bad day of weather throughout the like 2-week time period that like all the people that we were around for like a few weeks like were summiting. It was cold and windy as hell the day that we summited, and we weren't up there very long. But I don't know, in the moment, no, none at all, to be honest with you. But like a week afterwards, like that's when, like, I'm much more of a reflective thinker, I guess, like, so it takes me a little time to process everything. And yeah, so like a week later, like looking back at it, like that's when like I got a little more emotional about it.
Okay. Is post trail depression a thing for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, it definitely is, but it's definitely like not because like I am self-employed, and I have to like work a lot to maintain my level of income to be able to to be able to participate in things like this. So yeah, like by staying very busy doing what I do, like it definitely lessens. It helps with that, but that's definitely a thing. It for sure is. I guarantee you, probably 95% of the people that through hike or even do like there's something there that they're missing, or like wishing they were back on trail.
Now for Stretch, what's the best cure for post trail depression? How do you deal with
Yeah, you just go back in the woods.
it?
I mean, even for like a day hiking and stuff,
Yeah.
like, yes, I live in the city, but I can, 20 minutes, half an hour, I can be somewhere. I can be in the woods, um, but even not even in the woods, like, go sit near a lake or a pond or something, if you're a hammock camper, like, you just go set your hammock up somewhere or something, like just that doing something like that, just getting in your hammock is that little sense of home while you're on trail, so that can always, be like comforting. Um,
Yeah, for me,
yeah,
I just poop in the backyard. That makes me feel better.
yeah, go dig a hole.
Go dig a hole. That's right.
Yeah, that's yeah. I don't. Like having conversations with the people I've been hiking with, like, and knowing that they've been going through the same stuff. That's you know, we but that's probably basically why we talk to each other every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, what's next for Stretch? What's the next adventure?
I I think it's going to be the Superior hiking trail. That's I think that's what it's going to be right now. That could change, but I something inside me is telling me to go do that one next.
Okay. How long is that?
I think it's only like just under 300. I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just a short little jaunt.
yeah, but it's going to be like a logistical thing. It's going to be kind of because it's like up in Minnesota, like kind of up in the uh, getting there and getting out of there is kind of going to be a process. So it could take a little like I have to be patient with getting it. Sometimes like when you finish something like that, like you just want to get out of there. Like and yeah, I don't know. I'm in the infancy stages of planning this, but that will probably be my next trip.
Okay. Hey, Stretch, you know where we are?
Uh, yeah, is it the gear review
No, not the gear review.
or not gear review? Yeah, I can't remember.
The pro tip insight of the week.
That's what I meant.
That's what you meant. That's right. Pro tip inside of the week. This is your chance to share with our listeners some trail wisdom, make their next outdoor experience even better. You had a great one earlier. I'm hoping that wasn't the one you were saving, about being present, be in the moment, enjoy what you have around you at that time. You said you had a very unique pro tip. So what do you have?
Yeah, so this is like a lot more so for like if people are like thinking about backpacking or getting into hiking, like long mileage hiking with like footwear. We all know like footwear is super important. Just don't assume that because everybody else wears ultras, that they're going to work for you. There's plenty of buy like if you have the ability to hike or even walk in that, like go buy like a used pair, like through eBay or Poshmark or any like online, commerce website or app, buy a used pair and make like put as many miles in them, whether it's daily or like on trails or whatever, before you start spending $150 for a new pair to find out that they don't work, or are uncomfortable. One of the girls I hiked with, I think she went through about 4 different pairs of shoes within the first like 300 miles because she they were just giving her problems in one form or another. Like there are ways to minimize that impact, like which can be a financial impact on people. I mean, you spend 8 pairs of shoes at $100 to $150 a pair. That's not cheap. So for like a through hike is not cheap either. I mean, you could probably do it pretty cheaply, but you got to make sure you have the right gear. So make sure like for me, it's Hoka's. Like I will never I will never change from those, but that's because I found out that ultras don't work for me. I get high ankle sprains. But I've also used like Saucony's. I've used Brooks. Like I had to go through different shoes to figure out what worked for me. Now keeping your feet like blister free or whatever it takes to make your feet work and not have to deal with it, because that's what's going to get you from point A to point B. And take advantage of the market that you can find a pair of probably used ultras for $40, like they still have some life in them, or Hoka's, whatever brand that you want to try before you go spending $150 on a new pair to find out that they're not for you.
Yeah, instead of going all in for $150, $180, $200 pair of shoes, try out some used ones and see if that works for you. Awesome.
Yeah.
And you might be able to apply that to a lot of things with a lot of the gear, right? I mean, you don't have to buy a $350 tent right off the bat. I mean,
absolutely,
you kind of piece it together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and packs, packs are getting more and more expensive these days. Like, and they don't last. Like, no matter what. Like, I take care. Like, I have a Hyperlite bag now that I've had for like 2 or 3 years, and I don't know if it would last another through hike. So like here I am. Like it's like every 2 to 3 years, it's another thing I gotta get. Like just to keep my my love of the outdoors going. It can be a very expensive hobby.
It sure can. All right, so there you have it. That's it. This episode is just about in the books. Hope our listeners enjoyed our time with Stretch. Want to thank him for joining us this week. Stretch, how can our listeners keep up with you on social media, and where can they find updates on your latest adventures? I know you said earlier you're not a big social media guy.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I do have Instagram. It's CM Hurlbut, my last name. So CMHURLBUT. That's my Instagram handle.
Okay, remember to check out. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll send that. I mean, I'll make sure you have that link to that, so you can probably put it in the show notes or whatever.
Okay, perfect. Remember to check out the pod on social media as well. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And if you have comments or clips you want to share, you can send it to me at johnfreakinmuir@gmail.com.
The Adventure Media Recommendation.
Chris, I'm also looking to you to share a recommendation for a book, movie, documentary, something out there that's going to help keep our listeners connected to the outdoors during the off season. We're calling this our Adventure Media Recommendation. What do you have for us?
I'm a big YouTube person. Like I love watching like different people like hiking. I know it's not for everybody, but at the same time, like in the middle of winter time when I have a desire to be out hiking, it can be nostalgic in a sense for sometimes, or it can fill a void, like, of areas that's like this winter, I'll probably start finding people that have done the Superior hiking trail and seeing what they're going through while they're doing that. take advantage of YouTube. There's a lot of great people. Like there's people that basically like hike yearly now. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever had Hawk on.
I have not. No, Hawk.
No. But like Ibitat, he's definitely a different cup of tea for a lot of people, but like he's definitely, for production reasons, his stuff is probably the best on the internet on YouTube right now. If you don't mind his style, he's definitely somebody to watch. Craig Bain's Hawk. If you're interested in the AT, like he basically hikes the AT every year at this point. He's always got videos. I mean, you name the trail, there's probably somebody hiking and recording it nowadays. So like it's definitely it can fill a void when you need it, and that's another thing with like for the trail depression part of it as well too. Like just watching videos of people in areas, like it can help.
Absolutely. And Ibitat, he is so good. He is so entertaining. He is of a particular taste. And it's funny because my mom who follows the podcast religiously and has looked into some of my guests, she really enjoys Ibitat's YouTube videos. She might be his number one fan.
It's just it's not always bells and whistles out there, like, and that's it's you go through some shit sometimes, and like he's gonna let you know.
Absolutely. Yep.
What have we not asked you?
All right, Stretch. We covered a lot of ground in this episode. Did we miss anything? What do you want to share with us that we've not asked you about up to this point?
Like the one thing that like was always the I don't know how to approach this either. Like with the the AMC and through hiking, the way they like treat through hikers up in New Hampshire when you're going through the Whites is like really disconcerting. Like they, when you're going through the Whites, like if you don't get like work for a stay at the huts or anything like that, there's some places where like if you don't you're not doing huge miles for a day, like through some of the toughest terrain, like your hand is forced. Like you would have to do like a 2 mile side trail to where there's camping, like because they won't let through hikers like sleep in the dining room or I remember one time, I think it was Crawford Notch Hut, like literally we got there at 5 o'clock, me and one other person, and the 2 work for stays were already taken, and there was not a soul around. There's nobody else there, and they kicked us out. They wouldn't let us sleep in like sleep on the floor or anything, like, and like we weren't the only people. There was about 10 or 12 of us. They ended up having to like hike 2 more miles up a hill in the dark, like when there's all this space. Like it's and through that whole like 75 to like 85 mile section of trail, like they need to come up with an idea or some way to help that problem. Like it's always, when we were going through the Whites, that was like everybody around us is all dealing with the same problem. Like the one campsite that is available in this like one section, people are camping, like setting up tents on the trail because there's no more tent platforms and there's so many people there, and it was overflowed. The tent campsite was overflowed because they won't let through hikers, like even pay $10 to sleep on the floor in the hut. Like and I mean this is in September, like, so it's not like it's in the middle of summer or anything like that either.
Right.
So
right, sounds like that runs counter to a lot of through hiking culture to be that flexible and that rigid. What does AMC stand for again?
Appalachian Mountain Club.
Got it.
so they run all the huts up in the Whites, some other properties in Maine. They actually run some properties in New York. They have some kind of, I don't want to know if it's a contract or whatever it is, like with the U.S. Forest Service or something to manage, like it's basically for the management of people going through that land,
Right.
But like, I don't think the AMC and the ATC jive very well or talk at all. I don't know if they're like family members that have been like disassociated from one another or something, but like it seems like there's no
consistency.
All they care about is $150 that they're trying to get from a person for the bunk rooms, and like your weekenders and everything, and you can tell that's like the vibe even from the people that work there, like.
Right. Well, that's a shame. And Stretch, let's not end on a negative note. Let's get to any shout outs to friends and family out there. Anybody you want to say hi to? Encourage them to listen?
No. So one of the people I did hike with, her trail name is Billy Goat, and I think she's going to reach out to you because she wants to go on and talk about some stuff too.
Okay. I will keep my ears open for Billy Goat. Look forward to hearing from her. All right. Hey, thank you for tuning in. Always remember, the trail is the trail. It doesn't care if you want to go downhill. It doesn't care if it's almost dark and you're looking for a campsite. It doesn't even care if you decided not to bring your Burberry sweater on the hike. The trail is the trail. Embrace the suck.